Remember, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. So just because you know something doesn't mean you're applying it, right? That doesn't give you the power just because you know something. You got to actually apply what you know and then do that. And that's what becomes powerful. Big takeaway inside of that video, out of all of the different things, awareness of self is key. Ladies and gentlemen, awareness of self is key. You learning who you are, you understanding how you operate, you understanding where your blind spots might be, what your limiting beliefs might be. Robert Greene was the guy in there that said to challenge your ego, right? Knowing that you have an ego, knowing that certain things trigger you, knowing that certain things are kind of, at the forefront of your mind. How often do you challenge yourself on those things? How often do you challenge yourself on the feelings or the emotions that you have? This is knowing yourself. This is knowing oneself. And this is huge for all of us because, again, we're the ones that want to go off and design our ideal life. We want to design a life we don't need a break from. We want to get to the highest, grandest expression of ourselves. We want to feel all of the emotions, the joy, the peace, the love, right? All the things we want to feel and experience. It's gonna come by you first being super aware of yourself and where you are. It's an awareness conversation. Awareness is the first step to change. Awareness is the first step to change. If you're unaware of something, you won't change it. Once you become aware of something, then you have the ability to say, okay, this is something I want in my life or I don't want in my life. And then you go about working to get it to make it happen, right? Or to remove it from your life, whatever the case is, right? So knowing oneself, right? Awareness of who you are. And one of the ways that we get very aware is by being in relationship with other people. One of the ways that we can get very aware of who we are and kind of how we operate is by being in relationship with other people. I was going to talk about this word isolation because isolation can have a negative connotation, right? But it's also some things that you heard David Goggins say in the beginning, right? Also, that is the place of growth a lot of times. You grow in isolation, right? The good old adage of a seed that's planted in the ground, right? A seed that's planted in the ground, the soil is covering the seed, so you can't see the seed, but that seed is in isolation, growing. It's getting the nutrients from the soil, it's getting watered, and eventually it sprouts, but it grows in isolation, right? And so there's truth to that it grows in isolation, that we grow in isolation. The other side of that is when we're on that road, when we're on the road of growing, right? That being in community with people helps us become more aware of who we are. Being in community with people helps you see more of you, whether you're married, whether you have business relationships, but being in relationships and in community with people allow us to become more self-aware of who we are. And so that's a challenge for all of us, right? As we go into a brand new month, as we're about to go into a brand new year, how much community do you have around you? I know I talked about being coachable, being teachable, or I talked about, mentorship and all those things. But at the end of the day, who are you in community with? Who are the five people you spend time with, right? Who are the average people, or you're the average of the five people you spend time with. So who are they, and how are they influencing you? So to know yourself, to become more aware, one, we need to go into some isolation to come out and grow and become a different person. Two, we also the same side of right or the different side of the same coin is we need to be in isolation or not be in isolation, excuse me, so that we can be around people that help us learn and grow, right? Help us learn and grow. But at the end of the day, we have to get to a place where we know oneself, where we know ourselves. One of the things that I highlighted this chapter, the great ones are masters of their work rest cycle. So a lot of times, right, that whole being in isolation part, we don't always take that time to rest, right? We have cycles to our life. There's seasons of life. And so, same thing when we are on a journey to get to the highest, grandest expression of ourselves. You're on the journey to get to, right, the life you don't need a break from. There are work and rest cycles. And the better you get with this, right, the more efficient you become with stepping out of your comfort zone, with getting to the life that you want, right? These are the things to pay attention to. And sometimes with that rest cycle, it takes you being a bit isolated, right? It's hard to get rest around the rest of the family and all the other people and all the chaos that's happening. But it's important. It's important. Here's what it says in the text, and we'll kind of touch on some of these things. It says average people refuse to recognize one of the most critical aspects of peak performance, cycles. If human beings were robots, performance experts like myself wouldn't consult with our clients about the proper use of cycles. Yeah, we're not robots. We're primarily emotionally driven creatures whose level of performance is dictated by what we believe and how we feel at any given time. Most amateur performers never push themselves hard enough to ever warrant any concerns with cycles, but for champions, it can make the difference between winning and losing. The great ones know or are trained to know when they exert maximum effort and when to let their mind and body rest. Say that again. The great ones know or are trained to know when to exert maximum effort and when to let their mind and body rest. The enemy of all champions is physical and emotional burnout, and they will go to great lengths in the performance planning process to ensure burnout never occurs more than once. Most world-class coaches will push their performers to the breaking point at least one time to establish how far that individual can be pushed. Every performer has a different tolerance for pain. When this breaking point is established, a cycle of stress and recovery is implemented. Time off and life balance are key factors in performance cycles, as are massive influxes of effort. The great ones know the magic is in the mix. So, a lot of people in society talk about self-care and burnout and like these are all like words that are out there, right? But we have to understand that the way that this happens is by exerting maximum effort for long periods of time and not taking care of our emotional side, right? The ability to rest, to recover. If you are going to exert maximum energy, there has to be a balance of rest and recovery. Both sides have to happen. We can't just continue to, right, put the pedal to the metal forever and never lift up and never rest and never recover. But it's learning these cycles. It's learning that your mind and body need rest. And then you learning what are things that actually give your mind and body rest. Many people in society think, right, whether it's, they've labeled self-care all different types of things, right? Watching TV and movies and pedicures and all types of things, right? That they've labeled as self-care. But really, it's about when do you allow your mind and body the ability to rest? I personally allow it every single day. This is how I've learned to not be burnt out. This is how you learn this over time of not having a job and right putting life in all the places where you need it. You learn how to spend time every day learning to rest your mind and rest your body. Like both sides are important. And so if you ever find yourself in this place of exerting maximum energy, right? It's just constant effort and energy and you haven't taken time in that day to rest your mind or rest your body. Not numb it. Not numb it, right? There's a difference between numbing and actually resting and recovering, right? But learning the difference between those two and learning how to recover, what your mind needs to recover and rest, what your body needs to recover and to rest goes back to the point of knowing oneself. Sure, you might know some of your emotional homes, but do you know what your body needs? Do you know exactly what you need to do in order to get yourself back good to be able to exert maximum energy, maximum effort? in all of these areas, in your health life, in your faith life, in your finances, in your business, in your relationships? Do you know what you need? So this part of it is important. You'll hear me talk a lot about, right, how again, a lot of the inspiration, motivation, we got to go out, we got to grind, we got to make it happen, we got to push. Absolutely. We have to do all those things. And you have to learn how to rest and recover. It's a cycle. It's a cycle. In a bit in sometimes in our business, we'll do something called a 90-day madman cycle, right? Where you work harder, you exert more effort, more energy in a 90-day window than you would in a full year. Like you max it out. Like where it says here, right? Most world-class coaches will push their performers to the breaking point at least one time to establish how far you can be pushed. We do stuff like that in business where it's like 90 days all out. Let's go. Push yourself as much as you can. And then what happens after those 90 days? You actually take some rest and you recover because you just exerted maximum energy. So now your mind, your body, it needs those things. This happens to me on a small scale when I'll do a 30-day something, 30-day social media blitz, 30-day, right? Something else that after those 30 days, that cycle is over. I need to rest and recover. I need to do some things a bit differently. So again, this is how we have to think about our lives. This is for us that want to go off and design our ideal life. Us, we want to go off and live a life that, right, we can only imagine, that we don't need a break from our life, that, right, we have life exactly where we want it, that we're the highest, grandest expression of ourselves, that we have great relationships, great health, great financial life, great spiritual life, that we're experiencing all that life has to offer. If this is the life that we want, right? If these are the things that we talk about, if these are the things we have in our mind, if this is part of your vision to have life exactly where you want it, then certain things like this, like learning how to master your work and rest cycles, are going to be important. When you haven't learned this, what does this look like? This looks like you do well for 2 months and then you literally take off 3 months, right? We push ourselves really hard in an area for a month or two and it feels good. And then we fall off, but we fall off really hard. We fall off for months, for 2 months, for 3 months. And then we try to get back up going. That shows that we're not aware of our cycles, of what our mind and body actually needs in order to maintain peak performance, in order to be the highest, grandest expression of yourself, in order to show up every single day responsible for your actions, for your attitude, ready to take on the world, right? Being a peak performer in life requires you to get good with your work and rest cycles. It requires you to get good at learning how to navigate both the highs and the lows. And if we really want to focus on something from that video, knowing oneself, you have to learn how to slow down, to start thinking and using your brain, right? Some of us, as far as the well, I'm trying to find it in here. Uh uh anyway, we're talking about mind and body getting rest, right? Some of us don't know how to rest our minds. Some of us don't know how to rest our mind, right? That like there's always something that I got to think about or that I'm moving towards or that, right, I got to get to. But there comes a time where you learn how to rest and like have your mind recover. It's a muscle, right? It's something that, yeah, you can work out extensively and it requires some time for it to rest. So what do you do? How do you take that time? Like I said, I take it daily, almost daily. What do I talk about? You guys have heard me say it forever, right? A morning routine and a night routine. It's the easiest way to calm your mind and body. It's the simplest way that you can control every single day. The first 20 to 30 minutes of your day should be yours. It should not go to your children. It should not go to your spouse. It should not go to the alarm clock. It should not go to your job. It should not go to social media or emails or text messages or phone or anything. The first 20 to 30 minutes of your day, you've got to own it. You've got to be like, these are mine. So I'm going to drink water or hydrate myself or eat fruit or move my body or pray or meditate or take a walk or whatever the first 20 to 30 minutes of your day is going to be. It gives your mind some form of recovery because you are controlling what you're thinking about. If you chose to meditate during that time, you are slowing down your brain. You are slowing down your nervous system. Like that's what you are personally doing for your body. If you did that every day, your body would wake up and your mind would wake up with a form of rest versus maybe how you might not do that if you aren't consistent with having a morning routine every single day, 7 days a week, not just the days you choose to go to work, right? Like every single day, 7 days a week. That's one way I focus on my rest and recovery. Here's the other side, the nighttime routine. The last 30 minutes of your night should be yours too. It's not given to Netflix. It's not given to the thing on television, the series you've been binge watching. It goes to light music. It goes to a book. It goes to something that allows your brain to calm down, right? To slow down, to rest before your body goes into rest, before you fully go to sleep. Some of us go to bed without even slowing our mind down. So then we have lots of dreams or we don't sleep well. And then the sleep gets thrown off. Your recovery of your body gets thrown off. And then you wake up and your mind's out of it and then your body's out of it. And now that becomes a cycle. That's why this is important to practice. All the stuff I talked to you about is just practice. It's just practicing. Knowing that this is what your body, your mind, you need to perform at the highest levels to be the highest, grandest expression of yourself, to get to the life you don't need a break from. These are some of the things you got to do. Now you got to practice. Now you got to practice what rest and recovery looks like for your mind and body on a daily basis, or if not on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but figuring out what that looks like for you. And then you got to learn how to get into some isolation, get into some quiet times so that you can learn who you are and what you need and what your mind needs and what your body needs and what actually rejuvenates you, what does allow you to recover. Like you got to learn that about you, ladies and gentlemen. The more you know about yourself, the more likely you are to get to the place where you can grow to the highest, grandest expression of yourself, the more that you know who you are. And so that's what this process is. This quote here says recovery is an important word and vital concept. It means renewal of life and energy. Knowing how and when to recover may prove to be the most important skill in your life. I'll read that quote again. Recovery is an important word and vital concept. It means renewal of life and energy. Knowing how and when to recover may prove to be the most important skill in your life. That's James E. Lower, psychologist. Anyway, the action step for today says give yourself a life balance checkup. Are you investing the necessary time and energy in the important areas of your life? In the important areas of your life, hey, guess what? You get to choose what those areas are. You get to choose it. You get to choose what your priorities are. You get to choose where you give time. So are you investing the necessary time and energy in the important areas of your life? What areas are you overstressing? What areas are you understressing? Think about your current stress and recovery cycles and make any adjustments you think are necessary for peak performance and maximum happiness. Go out there today, help yourself focus on your rest and recovery. Now, if you haven't done any work, you don't deserve to rest, right? If you haven't actually exerted any effort and any energy, you can't just sit around and rest, right? You got to work and then we can rest. But if you're diligent about working and you're consistent about growing yourself and learning, because work comes in many different areas, working on yourself, working on external things, internal things. If you know you've been doing it, then yes, give yourself time to rest and recover. And then watch once you get back to giving and exerting maximum effort, maximum energy, you're more efficient. You're more efficient. You can do it for longer. It's more beneficial to you on the back end. That's what comes if you learn how to master your rest and relaxation. So go out and make it happen, y'all. I love you guys. I want you to win. You deserve to win. Your families deserve to win. They're counting on you. lock in this week. Speaking of rest and relaxation, we're going to take a little time off. We're taking a little vacay, but we're going to have some people dive in on Wednesday and Friday's call that are going to be able to continue to, again, inspire, continue to share with you the word you need for this morning to get yourself started, get yourself going. But I will be back and see you guys next Monday when we get back. So enjoy your week, y'all. We'll be talking soon. Love you guys. Take care.